and it began operations in 1933. We begin at Philadelphia's 30th Street Station. Almost all service here was electrically propelled, the primary exception being PRSL trains, most of which looked just like Pennsy trains. This advantage, together with the freight traffic advantage that Pennsy had due to its larger network in South Jersey, accounted for the 2/3 Pennsy interest in the PRSL. The PRSL's early diesel fleet was purchased new from Baldwin. The Baldwins came in 1950 through 1956 and consisted of models DRS4415, AS16, S8, and S12. Some of the AS16s were geared for 80-mile-per-hour operation. Here are some K4-powered departures for shore points, this particular one propelled by number 1361. Atlantic City-bound train as it crossed the Delaware Bridge. The Delaware Bridge shown here was opened for service in 1896, connecting the main New York to Philadelphia line at Frankfort Junction with the Camden and Amboy at Delaware. 1 year later, a 5-mile extension from Delaware to West Haddonfield opened, permitting direct Philadelphia to Trains out of Camden and trains out of Philadelphia came together at Vernon Tower, so while the cars from both parent roads could be found behind either road's power, the G3s were most often recorded on Camden trains. A long deadhead train of RDCs is heading back to Camden to handle rush hour service. The Bud rail diesel car provided just the kind of flexibility and operation like the PRSLs, with all its branch lines, required. The Buds, numbered M402 through M413, were acquired in 1950 and 1950. One of the first things that was done when the PRSL was formed was the construction of a new Atlantic City terminal to eliminate the 3 that had existed up until then. The new 8-track terminal was built behind the site of the former Reading facility on Atlantic Avenue and was dedicated on October 24, 1934. It continued to serve an ever-diminishing Atlantic City service until the last Conrail-operated RDC departed in the early 1980s. One is hard-pressed to recognize this as the same place that is now called Atlantic City. Most of the huge family-oriented beach resort hotels, having deteriorated in the intervening years, were demolished to be replaced with new, splashy hotel casinos as the modern gambling era arrived in New Jersey, a development that began just about the same time the last of those RDCs departed from the old Atlantic City for Lindenwold. As we depart Atlantic City, we catch a look at the engine facility and coach yard. The huge gas storage tanks occupied acreage that was later developed for an Amtrak terminal operated in the mid-1990s by NJ Transit. Wildwood Crest, a former PRR station, leased Reading G1 class Pacific number 129, arrives and then departs with a lengthy consist of Reading cars, as mid-40s automobiles of all sorts give us a glimpse of the future without trains. The locomotives the PRSL leased were all on a daily rental basis. Service for PRSL equipment was on a 2/3 PRR, 1/3 Reading basis, and occasionally resulted in a K4 at Reading, a G3 at Altoona, or an RDC at Wilmington Shop for work. Service to the southern part of the region was particularly interesting. Under PRSL operations, it utilized segments of both predecessor roads. Through trains to Ocean City ended before 1950, although through cars continued to operate, passed along to a waiting Atlantic-type engine at Tuckahoe. In these scenes, we get to watch as a Cape May through train drops cars at Tuckahoe for the E6 to take to Ocean City. Later, at Wildwood Junction, cars for Wildwood will be dropped for another Atlantic to take to their destination. Over the years, the Atlantics included Reading number 351, PRR number 460, number 461, and number 1600. Also, a Pennsy G5 occasionally showed up, including number 1813. Of course, PRR E6 number 460 was made famous as the holder of speed records on the Lindbergh Special. Trains reached several stations in Ocean City, all former Reading locations. The main station was at 10th Street, and the engine terminal was nearby. Here, coal was hand-shoveled into the coal bunker of an E6S while our photographer recorded the action. Fifty-First Street was the station or shoulder nearest the Crookhorn Drawbridge, which led to Tuckahoe. Here we watch the bridge tender as an Ocean City-bound train passes. The last train crossed this bridge on August 13, 1981, and in late 1992, the bridge was removed as a navigational hazard.